Well, let's bring you some more breaking news. The European Research Group of Eurosceptic Tory MPs has been meeting this morning and it has decided to recommend its members vote against the government in the Brexit vote that's going to be held in Parliament later. This is about the Windsor Framework, a key part, of course, of the future of Northern Ireland, its place within the UK and within the EU. Also very, very important to Rishi Sunak's political career. Our political correspondent Ali Fortescue joins us again from Parliament's central lobby. She also has the former Business Secretary, Jacob Rees-Mogg, alongside her. Ali, perhaps not an enormous surprise that the ERG have voted against this or decided that they will.
Yes, you're right. Not a big surprise. They stopped short yesterday of saying that they would vote against it. But today we have confirmation ERG officers will be recommending that their members vote against Rishi Sunak's Windsor Framework. That doesn't necessarily mean that all of its members will do so. We could see some abstentions. But let's speak to one ERG member who we all know, Jacob Rees-Mogg. You have already indicated that you will be voting against. Why?
I will be voting against because I think the problem with the framework is that it solidifies the protocol which has problems in it, and it means the continued application of EU law to Northern Ireland. And there's a real problem with the Green Lane, which is that if Northern Ireland ever uses the brake not to apply an EU law, the EU can, at its discretion, close down the Green Lane. So we will already have some constraint trade between one part of the country and another. But if we don't do what the EU says, it could be made worse. So I think there are things in the Windsor Framework that are damaging to the United Kingdom, damaging to the Union, and would actually make the situation worse than the protocol.
Do you accept that the European Research Group just doesn't really have the power that it did back in the Brexit years? I mean, do you really think you can inflict some damage on the Prime Minister today?
I definitely don't want to damage the Prime Minister. I wanted this vote not to be brought forward. We don't actually need this vote. I think that forcing a vote before the DUP had all the time it wanted to look through things was a mistake. I think turning this vote on the break into a vote on the whole framework was a mistake. That had it been just on the break itself, it would have been very easy to allow it to go through, but putting it on the whole framework with all that detail, which embeds EU law into Northern Ireland, is, I think, problematic.
Steve Baker, former ERG chair, has now obviously Northern Ireland minister, has basically compared Boris Johnson to a pound shop Nigel Farage by opposing the Windsor Framework. Are you a pound shop Nigel Farage?
Oh, I would take that as a great compliment. I would like to be the Woolworths of Nigel Farage's.
And do you not accept that in kind of pursuing a pure form of Brexit, you might be letting down businesses in Northern Ireland?
No, it's not the question of the pure form. There's the Northern Ireland Bill, Protocol Bill, before the House of Lords. That should be proceeded with. If necessary, the Parliament Act should be used to get it through, because that solves the problem under our own law, under our own power, in accordance with the treaties and international law. And that solution's already there. So I don't understand why the government has put a better solution to one side.
Do you expect there will be some abstentions within the ERG? Do you think the group will move as a bloc?
Oh, I would expect that the group will vote the way individuals want to, that this is an indication. It's not a strong whipping organisation. I think a number of people will abstain. I imagine the whips are being generous with slips to encourage people who aren't entirely happy with it to be away. The government will win the vote comfortably because the Labour Party is on side. And that's very interesting because the Labour Party has always been weak on Brexit, has never wanted a proper Brexit. Keir Starmer always wanted a second referendum, did everything he could to stop it. So once you see the Labour Party supporting it, you have to wonder if it's as good as it's cracked up to be.
OK, Jacob Rees-Mogg, former Business Secretary, thank you so much for speaking to us. And as you were saying, the Prime Minister's not going to have any problems getting this through. We know that Labour have indicated they will be voting with the Windsor Framework, but the devil will be in the detail and the numbers today. Is this a Conservative rebellion that the Prime Minister will be able to contain, or will we see a big chunk of the Conservative Party, of course, including big names like Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, voting against him? That potentially could be very dangerous.